Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. I truly believe there is an epidemic going on in the workplace right now. It has nothing to do with COVID. It's not health related, but it's big. And I don't believe we realize what's happening here. And that is quiet quitting, employee retention. So many people are just unhappy with their jobs, basically, if you will, phone it in just to get the paycheck, where it shouldn't be like that. You should be showing up for work, loving your job, feeling good about it, feeling appreciated, all of that. How can we keep people at work longer? Or if you're one of those who has quietly quit, we won't say who you are, keep it anonymous, but let's talk about all of that today with somebody who coaches, leaders, people who are ambitious, team leaders, entrepreneurs, all of that. Cool Persistence Coaching is his company. He's our professional of the year. Marsh Dumlao joins us again here in the program. Welcome back. How are you?
Hey, Steve, it's great to be back. It's always good to see you out there in Long Island. And I'm out here in Colorado Springs, but it's just great to connect.
Yeah, and this is your former homeland here, Long Island. You've been away.
That's right.
When you coming back? I made dinner. What's going on?
Probably mid-May. Mid-May, I'll probably visit out there. I'll be out there in Islip. That's my plan, to get out there.
Gotcha. Well, look forward to it. And let's get together for a lunch. I'm like literally right around the corner from there. Quiet quitting. I can identify in my circles, just top of mind, 3 people that have told me that essentially they didn't use the word quiet quitting, but they've checked out. Why do you think this is going on right now?
Wow, there's a lot of things, right? There's a lot of things going on with the quiet quitting, or at least the resentment, right? Resenteeism. And sometimes it causes employees to actually just do what they're just paid to do and nothing more. And, not feeling good about themselves and things. And there are 3 things that I would like to talk about today is, again, they're not all solution sets and encompassing, but something for ambitious and emerging leaders to consider, right? A lot of times it's that employees, they don't leave companies. They leave their managers and their leaders that they do not trust.
Does it really come down to trust? Is it all about trust?
Well, trust alone might not resolve any of the underlying issues leading to quiet quitting or resentment, but it is a major factor. So building that trust-based culture, the clarity. Jim Rohn once said, the challenge of leadership is to be strong, but don't be rude, to be kind and not weak, all those things. And so where does an ambitious and emerging leader actively engage our employee to be deliberate and intentional, yet understand what I call in the military tactical empathy? Understanding, there's a thing we always say in leadership, know what makes your folks work, what makes them tick. And I think that tactical empathy, not just saying being a nice guy or a nice leader or doing things, but really what is getting to the root cause of why they're feeling this way. Is it a clarity in their mission statement, or it could be something that's happening at home that, yes, I get it, that maybe employees are not comfortable in sharing that, but at least to understand that there are some things that are happening. For example, if you want to, let's get a scenario, you want to recognize employees and say, okay, great, I'm going to have a dinner at this restaurant on a Sunday, and I'm going to have all my employees and the team members come into this restaurant. Well, it's nice if for the leader, if the restaurant is just around the corner, but they could be commuting an hour away. And not even recognizing for that leader to understand that, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, it's good for me, but may not be good for the people who I'm actually recognizing.
Interesting. Or you could be throwing a lunch for your employees, and that's wonderful, but maybe they don't want that. A bunch of trays of ziti and chicken marsala, whatever it might be. Maybe they don't want to eat. Maybe they're on a diet, whatever. they may, and this is actually true. I heard this from somebody. It's like, yeah, I appreciate that, but I'd rather have whatever they're paying. Throw us an extra $25 and say, we're going to throw you lunch, but you know what? You use this any way you choose. You want lunch? Get lunch. You want gas? Get gas, whatever it might be.
Right, right. What makes them actually, what is it that's important to them? Trust as Leadership Institute, they did a survey back in 2020. They said what they found is 4 times as many people want to leave their organization because of a lack of appreciation
Mm,
rather than annoying coworkers.
wow. And isn't it true that it ain't always about the money?
It's not. It is
Mm,
not. And some of the things, even just saying, "Hey, great job." Well, that's very, that's general.
sure.
Yeah, great
Okay.
job today. You did this, right? Okay, yeah, got it. But to actually recognize them on the spot with a very specific thing, we call that a model, a framework that I like to use is SBI. We call it SBI. Be specific, have the behavior on that specific thing, and the impact it caused for you or the company or the organization. So, hey, how you brief this sales briefing and how you presented yourself was spot on. It captured our client, and because of that, we landed this contract of $100,000. Thank you, you and your team. That's very specific, rather than
Mm,
say, "Hey, great job in doing that sales speech today."
right. Well, and at least you got something, but at the same time, it goes back to you're just a number and not a name in many of these companies. And I think I shared a friend of mine over the last few podcasts that we did who has quiet quit. She may actually next week quit officially because she
Mm,
just can't take it anymore. She had surgery. I don't know if I shared this with you. She had surgery,
yeah.
pretty major surgery, and she obviously needs some time off. And they checked with their staff physician, nurse, whatever, and said, you know what? You could take 4 or 5 days. And she's like, 4 or 5 days, that's it. I mean, it was heart surgery.
Mm, yeah, yeah. You need longer
And
than
yeah, even just the anxiety leading up to it and all of that involved. And she's going to the doctor today. Actually, she's at the doctor at this very moment. Um, just a 1 week checkup.
Mhm.
She has, some issues with lightheadedness. They have to make some adjustments into pacemaker. But still, that was just this is the best part of this whole story. And this illustrates what is going wrong here. And this is a big company.
Mhm.
Her mother said to her the other day, did your job check in with you to see how you're doing? Not a phone call, not an email, nothing, zero. How do you do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
Especially in this day and age where you have the internet, you have text, you have
right.
all the different ways of reaching out and communicating. Even
Horrible,
just to say
horrible.
hello, and say, "Hey, we're thinking about you. Let us know what you need."
Yeah, if you need anything, we're
Yeah.
here. So, yeah, that's why I don't even care if it's a templated text for other employees. It doesn't matter. At least they took the time to do it. Not this company, not this job. But I've seen the emails from them. I've heard about the culture. The day that she got the job, and this is going back almost a year, they told her that when a lot of people interview for the job, they go to the parking lot and they never come back. And I said, that was your cue that there's a reason for that because the training is not good. They overwhelm you. But anyway, just an example of what an employer shouldn't be doing if they want to retain their employees and not have resentment.
Right. So, it's kind of interesting that you brought up that example of that, company. So, I have a client who is working for a huge international company, and basically, and that client is actually my older son, right? And I do executive coaching with him,
Wow.
and it's kind of interesting to hear some of the things that he goes through as a leader and manager. And one time, I remember he called me up, says, "Hey, I'm in Denver." I'm like, "What are you doing there? My whole crew is here in Denver." I'm like, "What are you doing there?" I says, "Well, this company found out that this one hub, that crew, their supervisor died suddenly. And so what the company did is that went around nationally and got five teams from separate other transportation hubs and things, and brought them in so that they gave time for that existing the existing crew that's up in Denver to grieve and give them time off.
Wow. I got
That
chills. I got chills.
Yeah, that, you don't hear about those things, those good news things, but that's how companies take care of their employees. And that's what increases that trust, right? It's that compassion, it's that clarity. And then the other thing that you just mentioned about training, and then you go to the parking lot, proactive employee engagement strategies. 67% of Americans say that the more frequent training would help them trust their employer more. That's from the Trust Edge Leadership Institute 2020 survey. 67%.
Wow.
So even the training, it's kind of interesting. There was I was talking to another group of folks midweek here in a workshop, and what's interesting is that there was a quote that somebody used, and I really like it. It says, "If you empty your pockets for your mind will fill your pockets."
If you empty your pockets for your mind will fill your pockets.
Meaning, stay fresh and competent. People want to be around those who are fresh and relevant with their trade. And sometimes we, as a company or as an organization, as leaders too, we're just in the grind. We're working hard. We're doing this 40 hours, 8, 9, 10 hours a day. The thing about it, we do have to take time to take care of our competency and ourselves to be relevant.
Wow.
And again, the Trust Edge leadership showed that with that survey they took back in 2020. Americans want more frequent training. They just, sometimes there's this fear that, well, if I get you certified, you'll leave the company. That may not be the case. Take care of your employees, get them trained up so they can be really good at what they do.
At the very least, it shows that you're making an investment in them.
Yes.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be exact training for that job. It could be personal empowerment. It could be, I don't know if you've ever heard of a CPR, how to write a CPR, just to make life easier. And the CPR is basically a plan to do something. And then and looking at it from all different angles. It could be also about planning your weekend. I'm going to make a CPR because I want to be a great weekend. It could be anything. But at least it's showing that you care about your employees and that it's okay that we take a little time from our workday for you to learn that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So in the military and former other companies too, it's actually during that day, because that is part of your job and your career. It's not something like, say, okay, do this on your own, right? On your own time. Well, yeah, we only have so much time, and we spend most of the time at work, and then we spend time at home, we sleep, and then we go back out to the grind again.
Sure.
So there are some that prefer to have it off hours. I get that, online, make it available to them. And then there are other times where it does require to have it during the workday and say, you know what, we're going to take this time off to get us fresh and relevant in whatever topic we're going to cover.
What's your advice to somebody, let's flip it, who is thinking about or has quiet quit? They've already done it in their mind. I've checked out. Is there any turning back? Number one. Number two, if there is, what can they do? How can they address it without setting up bells and whistles and feeling uncomfortable at your job?
That's an awesome question. And the thing about it is, it boils down to this: we can only control ourselves. So the first thing I would recommend or encourage is to find out what systemically is that. Why are they resenting their job? It could be something else. It may not be the job. It could be something else. So it really has to boil down to you, right? Your individual self. So the first thing, like what in a previous job that I had five value systems that I had. One, I had mentor employees, set the conditions for success, mission first, people always, establish a connection culture, and the last one, an attitude of gratitude every day. And so one of the things about why are we resenting the things we do, an attitude of gratitude. There is one strategic session I had with a bunch of business leaders last month, and in that framework, in the communication side, and that I said, how do you win every day? And they go, what do you mean? I'm like, how do you win every day? If you didn't get that sale, if you didn't get that contract, how do you win? And it was kind of interesting. Says, well, I've always been, a glass half empty. Says, maybe I should be a glass half full. I'm like, no, that's not even a mindset. He goes, because it's still half. Why don't you win every day? Because your glass is overflowing, period. You wake up in the morning, you're vertical. We call that sometimes in the military. How are you doing today? Well, I'm vertical, meaning I'm standing up, I'm good. If you set a habit of working out, like I get up at 4:45 in the morning and I have a workout routine. Well, I know I win every day. Why? Because I complete my workout routine. There you go. Everything else is okay. The thing is, I can do my exercises. I win every day.
Yeah.
And
the wins, count the wins. What are the wins? And doesn't matter what they are. And yeah, every day you're not nailing a new client, getting,
Right.
the whatever. What are my wins so far today? Talking with you, definitely be one of them. Learning a lot of, and just the energy and the vibe and everything. In between, if I have a half hour, which is rare, I had one earlier this morning. What you know what I'm doing? Here's my taxes. So I said, that's a win. I'm sending, but I got it off my plate. And some other things, taking care of some other things. I got it off my plate. I feel like I won because now I have time to focus on other things. But I don't think we take stock in what our wins are, no matter what they are. We just we're in robot mode.
That's right. And so usually when somebody does a one-on-one coaching session with me, the first thing, hi, how are you, and everything else. Well, when I actually sit down with them, I said, okay, tell me what your quick wins were this last week. And some of them never even heard that question. They're like, what do you mean? I said, what were your quick wins? Like business wise, anything wise, personal wise. Did you wake up in the morning? Did you get to work on time? Did your car start? All this. Did you have a family? Did your kid hug you? That's a win. Did you, all those things that are happening. Did they say bye, dad and mom? Or, all those things are wins. And I think from that perspective, again, you can only control yourself. You really can't control anybody else. And I get it that, managers and some leaders that are novice, they want to push and control that. The thing is, we have to have more finesse in ensuring, engaging the employees, having regular check-ins, investing in their personal growth, consistently looking at those things that will make them work or tick, what makes them move. A previous job that I had, I had 157 people work for me. And the one division that this other new leader was going to take over, I went down the list and said, here are their names, here's their background, here's if you ever want your Honda fixed, this guy here can do it because he races Hondas on the side, everything down the line, and they goes, wow. It says, now you have 2 weeks to remember their names and what makes them tick. Why? Because that what we call is tactical empathy.
Gotta remember that one. that's a $50 Martial tip.
Well, actually, yeah, that's actually from another book I read about ego and this, and it's part of hostage negotiation language.
Wow.
It's really called tactical empathy. And so let's use that. It's rather than strong arm and say, what do you want? What do you want to do this and do that? Find out truly what is at that root cause. And I'm not saying that it's not sympathy, right? It is empathy, saying, yeah, we are complex and there are things that externally that impact us individually. And it may not be the work. It could be something at home. It could be something else. It could be that commute that you're just dealing with, So how do you make that commute, when you say, we talked about that other scenario where you have a recognition luncheon or a recognition day on a weekend, whatever, or in the evening, and you expect your employees to have an hour and a half commute. They're not going to do it.
I see some parallels here. I don't know if I shared with you. I joined a men's group a month ago.
Okay.
It was a recommendation of somebody who's very successful, and he went from here to here in 2010, joined the men's group. He's still with the group, and it brought him to the ceiling, way up.
Yeah.
And every week we meet right here in my studio office, and we have commitments and we write them down and we're accountable. And they could be anything. Like you just said, I'm going to wake up at 4:45, 4 days a week, at least 1 hour of working out training, whatever they are.
Right.
And that's one part of it. And then the other part was the appreciation or just the empathy. There was a weekend that is part of the group. It's connected to it. It's not, they suggest you go. I went on a whim. Didn't even know anything about it. I've never done this in my life. I just signed me up. I went after one meeting with the group. I wasn't even done with the meeting. And I'm getting to the point here of the empathy. Don't even know these men. And we've all bonded. It was all great. The trip was 7 hours on the plane.
Wow.
Came back like 3 weeks ago, and I had arranged for a pickup from the airport. It's about an hour ride from the airport. Getting off the plane, and I get to the baggage area, and men from another group are standing there. I'm like, well, what's going on? We're here to pick you up. I'm like, what?
Wow.
I'm blown away. I was like, let me cancel the ride. I had no idea, but it was just to feel appreciated, to have that empathy, to have your back. That's what your employer should be doing.
Right. And you know what? There are things that, obviously there are some companies that do that. Maybe the choice is to actually lay people off or to riff. The thing is, be transparent about it, right? Give them that same respect.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about the workforce, the focus on millennials, right? Because the millennials, 78% of millennials say that frequent training would help them trust their employer more.
Wow.
Just taking care of them, right? And then you mentioned about expectations and accountability. That's the third thing. Establish clear expectations and accountability.
Yeah.
Now that's not, being forceful, like strict enforcement. What you just said, it's consistency. It's trusting in the small things. They're communicated with, these expectations are communicated with flexibility and adaptability and empathy. It's one thing to say, get me that report by 3 p.m. today. Or say, you know what? There is a report. I have to brief the seniors. I need it by 3 p.m. today. But really, the only 3 data sets I'm looking for is this, this, and this.
I love it because I think it goes back to the overall expectations. When we assign a report, we expect it to be done when the deadline is there. And just basic expectations. I really feel that a lot of people don't know what the expectations are. They do their job, but the things that are around it hasn't been defined. And sometimes you're not going to find that in the employee handbook. We're out of time. I can keep going here. This is great.
Yeah. So part of that expectation accountability is that one of the things I mentioned of the value is called connection. Establish that connection culture. We cannot do things alone. We can't even stay in our cubicle alone, right? The cubby hole. Yep. It is getting out off your seat. And even if you're working from home, then it's that phone call, it's that Zoom session. Connect with people. Why? Because we are relationship beings. And who knows, somebody else may have that solution for you to help you out.
Yeah. But you feel like you're a team and you're personally vested in what you're doing, as opposed to just being, I'm showing up today, I'm leaving. Right. Is it 5 o'clock yet? All of that. It's key. The main takeaway I've got from you, and you've said it a few times and also in different ways, is trust. Trust. You need to trust your employer. It's key. And you know what? It makes sense. If you're in a relationship with your boss or the company, you have a relationship with the company. Look at it as your personal relationships. If you don't have trust in those personal relationships, you really don't have a deep relationship.
That's right.
Wow.
Right. So that's where the employers or these leaders, folks placed in leadership roles, have to foster that trust. That's the empathy part. That's the commitment. That's the compassion. And that's the clarity.
Love it. How do we connect with you to get this all done? You can't do it alone. Just like you said, you can't be in the the cubicle. You can't do it alone. How do we connect with you, Martial?
Okay, so they can call me direct, 719-330-7004. That's my cell. And then also email mdumlao@focalpointcoaching.com. And then my website, marcialdumlao.focalpointcoaching.com.
Always fantastic talking with you. You are a breath of fresh air in all of this. And at the same time, you've also got the research to back it up. It's not you just throwing things out. You're connected to surveys, research, studies, polls, all of that, which just adds to your arsenal in helping people. And I appreciate that. Appreciate you being here today.
Well, Steve, I appreciate you connecting with me. This is really cool seeing you.
Same.
This is great.
Yeah, looking forward next time we get together, and maybe at some point that'll be in person when you come back.
In person. That's right.
Awesome. All right, we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care.
We'll be right back.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.